Today, we're going to be learning about 4 legal structures. I'm not an attorney, but this is the way I protect my millions of dollars worth of assets. By the way, if you're new to the channel, my name is Hugh. I teach business owners how to optimize their operations because I know it's the one thing that will take a business from 0 to 1. My background was manufacturing, but I cover businesses all across the spectrum. And if you're new to me, you'll know that I am a big proponent of the lean method. I applied it to my own businesses, retired a millionaire in under 2 years. Now I help my friends do the same. Let's get into it. We're going to go over a scenario. This will be a quick presentation of no protection. So this is pretty common. You buy a house. We're going to say that this guy's name is Bill. Bill wants to buy a house. So he finds a house. He takes a leap. He buys the house. Bill doesn't have protection. He's got a bank account. It's his personal bank account. And the gray represents Bill as a legal entity. And he has a house. So then later, it's been a year, 2 years, 3 years. Bill says, I want to do more than a house. I want to have my forever home. And so Bill buys a forever home. Look at that. He's so happy. So now, 2 years into this, he's a budding real estate investor, like us all here in this room, all of us. He's buying houses. And at the beginning of each month, they pay his bank account because it's Bill. You know, everybody trusts Bill. So, yep, we just kind of keep going along. Now, 5 years into Bill, he's got his forever house. He owns everything in his name. Now he's adding houses, adding another house, add another house, add another house. Things are going good. And then one day, somebody slips and falls. Uh-oh. What do you do? Now Bill might be in trouble because everything's under Bill's name and it's legally under his name. And so suddenly, maybe he gets sued and because he doesn't have enough equity, they're now going to force him to sell off these properties. What if there's not enough? Oh my gosh, Bill just lost his personal house. So that's not good. So don't be like Bill. But what Bill, he learned from this experience and he might do some basic protection. So same scenario, Bill, let's say he already has his forever home. He can buy it in his own name, nobody cares, that's fine. But when he goes to buy property, he's gonna buy inside of a legal structure called an LLC. I know there's some states, but in the state of Missouri and most states, you should still probably do this. And every time he buys a new house, it's inside of an LLC. The LLC has its own bank account. Bill has his personal residence, and that's in his own bank account. And so this is some basic protection. 2 years in, right? Everything's normal. At the beginning of every month, people pay rent to Bill, and Bill, is happy hunky-dory. 5 years in, he's just acquiring properties. Beginning of every month, everybody's paying him, no big deal. Oh, somebody slipped and fell in one of his properties. Well, maybe that whole LLC is at risk with all the properties in it. But what's not at risk is everything else. So Bill's personal residence is fine. Bill's other LLCs are fine. Of course, you want to have insurance on this. There's a lot more to it. There's quite a bit of things going on. But this is the basic protection. Most investors stop here, but we can actually get a lot further than that. So we're gonna go to the advanced method. Bill, by himself, may or may not have a single family house, whatever. The first advanced thing that Bill can do is Bill can have what's called a holding company. A holding company doesn't own anything that does anything. It is in name, it holds other companies that do stuff. So Bill, to slightly protect himself more, could have an LLC that owns each company. The holding company owns the LLC owns the property. At the beginning of the month, everybody pays the LLC. Then, a few days later, everybody then pays the LLC. The LLCs then pay the holding company. So you're moving what little money's left over out of the actual LLC itself. Oh my gosh, somebody slipped and fell. So you might lose that LLC. You could lose equity in it and what's in that bank account. But lucky for you, we've moved everything out of that bank account into the holding company. And of course, you need to figure out your state laws. In the state of Missouri, this will work if you don't commingle funds, and insurance should prevent this from happening anyways. But in the off chance, you're good. So you have Bill with his personal residence is protected. Your holding company and the money is protected. Each other LLC is protected. And you just have the risk in the one LLC that has an issue or could have had an issue. So now we're going to super duper advanced. Bill is super duper advanced now, and he creates a trust. And Bill's the manager of his trust, beneficiaries, his kids or whatever. The trust, which is a legal entity, owns a holding company. That holding company owns the LLCs that then own the properties. Very, very straightforward. And then, but Bill wants his primary residence. So Bill might have some random other company have his primary residence that's not connected to anything. And then Bill might have a lease with himself to stay in that property. Now he's protected, the company's protected, all kinds of stuff is going on. So this is a super duper advanced, and this is pretty close to what I do. What do? I've got the super duper duper advanced, and you can see because the duper is spelled differently and has it's underlined and it's a different color. This is what I do. You got Bill. Bill's in the state of Missouri. Bill creates a trust in the state of Wyoming for reasons that are basically Wyoming has the longest standing privacy clause in the country. That trust has Bill as the manager, but it is a Wyoming LLC. Sorry, it's a Wyoming trust. The trust doesn't matter just yet. That trust owns a holding company. Okay, now it matters. That holding company is an LLC. Bill's trust owns a holding company in Wyoming. That LLC in Wyoming is a company that, due to all the privacy trusts, is very well protected. So if anything follows the trail back to Wyoming, if someone sues, until you get into a lawsuit, you can't see who owns what. If you're in a lawsuit, they'll find it in discovery. But if you're not in a lawsuit yet, and people are just hunting you down because they know you have a lot of real estate, they can't see you. It obscures you. Another thing is there's something called double charging order protections. We're gonna go back a few. So remember, under advanced, if someone trips and falls, everything's protected. However, if Bill is texting and driving and runs somebody over, then the courts can reach through Bill's chest all the way down and force him to liquidate all kinds of stuff. In the state of Wyoming, that is not possible because Wyoming will say, no. Sorry, you're suing Bill. You're not suing Bill's company. That's called double charging order protections. So it's almost like the same thing. If you sue Bill, Bill's protected and insulated from any other lawsuit. Bill creates a trust. The trust is in Wyoming. That trust owns a holding company. That holding company then owns a holding company in the state of Missouri. Why not just own the LLCs, Hugh? Why own a holding company in the state of Missouri? That's a great question. You never want the holding company to own property directly in the state of Missouri. You're gonna want holding company to own the companies in the state of Missouri because a company in the state of Missouri is legally a Missouri citizen and it is bound by Missouri law. In some states and jurisdictions, I don't know if this is between Wyoming or not, but there have been issues where if you had your holding company in Wyoming directly own a property in the state of Missouri, your Wyoming company is not a legal citizen of Missouri, and therefore, the person who slipped and fell on your property automatically wins because there is no protection for that person in the state of Missouri, because the person who owns your property is actually someone from Wyoming who doesn't get the benefits of being in Missouri. However, a Missouri LLC does. So that's why I've got a holding company that owns at least the LLC. I have a holding company that owns a holding company that owns the LLC that owns the property. I probably did that wrong. You probably don't need that middle step in Missouri. Just make sure you don't own properties directly. Same thing. If I'm in Wyoming with a holding company and I want to buy a property in Texas, I'm going to create an LLC in Texas, and then I'm going to have that LLC in Texas own the property. So now that LLC is protected by Texas law, along with whoever may or may not slip and follow. That is what I do, and so that is the super duper advanced way. I'm not an attorney. This is what I do in the United States. Different countries probably have something similar. Different states may or may not break this. A lot of people will say, hey, why do all of this? Why not instead just have good insurance? And if you're from the state of California, congratulations, yes. You're screwed. I don't know why you're doing business there. Harry Carey's the only answer. But for everybody else in the real world, in the rest of the United States, you do have some benefit for legal protections. And here's ways to kind of get around. So that is the super duper way. Do we have, and then there's a rebrand. Small Biz Rescue and FU Money Podcast is now just rebranded to Business Wealth Blueprint. It's everything all together. There was a lot of confusion. They were like, I'm not a small business. And other people were like, I don't need rescuing. I just need some help. So we rebranded to Business Wealth Blueprint. They both do the same thing. Who has questions? Again, not an attorney. Thanks so much for sticking around to watch. Please help us by watching this next video.